Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video. If you've been following Pony, you'll have seen he's been a pretty good loader. Up until
Wow, look at
recently,
that.
he'd run right into the trailer without any hesitation at home or off the farm, but two small back-to-back loading incidents have really seemed to ding his confidence. So to be completely fair to Pony, he is still really not what you'd consider a typical bad loader. He's still been getting on the trailer in under 5 minutes and without any dangerous or resistant behavior. And if I have a second set of hands to help, he's really on in about 30 seconds. So it is hard to be annoyed when you really think about the fact that you're
Good
asking a prey animal to
boy.
willingly climb into a scary enclosed box. But I do like my horses to get on the trailer easily and quickly, so this is something that's important for me to address. Anyways, back to my trailering mishaps. I have been taking Pony off the farm for lessons when the weather is acceptable, I suppose. And he's been really great about loading up at my farm and again to come home from the farm I ship into. But the last time I had him out, it had started raining, and when he went to get on the trailer, he slipped on my ramp and went down almost all the way to his knees to come home. He got right back up, took a pause, but then immediately hopped into my trailer. So my first mistake was not really noticing that seemed to shake his confidence a little bit, and then not reinforcing the trailer at that point right after that incident. But because he seemed so unfazed by it, I probably would have forgotten that happened at all, if not for the second incident. The next time I went to take him out right after that, I was taking him to the vet clinic to get his wolf teeth out. It had snowed a small amount overnight, so when I went to get Pony to load, he had some snow packed into his feet, which I foolishly did not pick out. And so then he went to get on the trailer and he slipped again. Now, that time, after he slipped 2 times in a row, it took him a few minutes to follow me into the trailer. And I did know at that point that I was going to have to spend some time rebuilding his confidence with the trailer. So this whole shebang happened a little over a week ago now, but I, now being a little bit wiser, decided to wait for all of the ice in my driveway to melt before I attempted to address this. So anyways, as you can see, he is not evasive, but he is incredibly sticky about loading in the beginning. And because I'm trying to build his confidence, I'm trying to use as little pressure as I can to entice him onto the trailer. I'm quite literally just standing in front of him in the trailer, asking him to touch my finger as a target, and if and when he takes a step forward to touch me, I click and give him a treat. But once he had his 2.5 feet onto the trailer, he kind of froze and sat like that for what felt like an eternity, but was in actuality around about 3 minutes. And I couldn't really convince him to take a step forward for my dinky little treats anymore, but on a hunch, I grabbed a handful of alfalfa from my hay bags that I keep in the trailer, and at that point, that kind of flipped a switch for him, and he was like, all right, I want that. So then he's like right on the trailer.
Good boy.
So once he got on for the first time, I spent a little bit of time feeding him treats and alfalfa in the trailer to reinforce that being inside the trailer is fun. It's good to be here. And then I unload him and immediately go ahead and ask him to get right back on. The second attempt, he still paused to think for just a little bit, but he did ultimately end up climbing on much faster. And so for the rest of the video, it is just repetition, repetition, repetition. We repeat this over and over and over and over again until he stops pausing at the entrance to the trailer. I'm going to say, all in all, at the end of the session, I probably had put him on the trailer close to a dozen times. And when he's stuck, I'm not trying to pull him on. I might pull on the lead rope if he starts looking around, or actually at a few times he started trying to eat the shavings on my ramp. But I don't mind him sniffing the ground. I just want him to keep his nose pointed in the trailer and somewhat interested and aware of what's in front of him. So after a few successful attempts of just loading and unloading, I felt like we were in good shape, and I wanted to practice closing Pony into the trailer. For those at home who want to recreate this for their own horses, just make sure you always shut the butt bar before you tie the horse's head. You never want the horse to pull back and flip out of your trailer. And I still think Pony's anxiety about loading was more severe than him just being shut into the trailer. But I do notice, looking back on these videos, that he does look a little bit stressed when I shut the doors in the first clip. He doesn't really have any sort of large reaction And I just took him out of the trailer and did the whole thing again. And you can see when he loads now, there's no hesitation. And this time, when I close him into the trailer, he's far more focused on the alfalfa and a lot less worried about being in the trailer. So he looks a lot less stressed, and he's still a little bit alert, but not as bothered. So now I unloaded him and loaded him one last time for the day. And this time I shut him in for a slightly longer period of time. He still seemed pretty relaxed, and he actually spent some time looking out of his window, some time eating his hay before I came back, unloaded him, and put him back in the barn for the day. But even though he looked great by the end of the session, I still made a point to come out and practice again the following day. The session from the day before was less than 30 minutes total, and the following day he came out and ran onto the trailer every single time. And I just wanted to see if he would self-load, which he did. And then I was like, well, what will happen if I close the divider halfway? And he also got right on. So I feel like my 30 minutes from the day before really paid off. And, I think doing it 2 days in a row really reinforces the lesson. But since he was already kind of back to his baseline levels of trailer loading, I thought there was no reason to keep loading and unloading him like a dozen times like I did before. So instead, I decided to practice tying him to the trailer, and while I closed all of the doors back up. Also, while he was here, I thought it was a good idea to try lifting his feet somewhere new. If you've been following Pony, he used to be really funny about having his feet picked up, but he seems to be doing really well now. So anyways, yeah, I really like my horses to load nicely onto the trailer. And across 2 days, I've invested less than 45 minutes of my time, and I just think it's so worth it to have a horse that loads confidently onto the trailer. You never know when you're going to have an emergency, and if you're like me, I almost never have a second set of hands to help, so it's just so nice to have a horse who gets on quickly, no matter what. So just spending some time to take our time, make the trailer a really positive place to be, and I'm never in a rush when I'm doing this. Anyways, I hope you liked today's video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more pony content. Thanks for watching.